Is there one sin that leads to every other sin? Murder, adultery, greed, pride. Now, we usually associate these as separate sins, but Charles Spurgeon argues that they all have the same root. And surprisingly, he doesn't say pride, and surprisingly, he doesn't even say the love of money. 2 Kings 7:19. And that Lord, lowercase, answered the man of God and said, Now behold, if the Lord, capital case, should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, the man of God, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. This is going to be Charles Spurgeon's third published sermon, The Sin of Unbelief. Now, point number one, what is unbelief? Most people think unbelief means atheism, but that's a narrow aspect. Unbelief is doubting God's promise, questioning his goodness, wondering whether he'll really forgive you, thinking that your problems are too big for him, even saying God couldn't forgive someone like me, which is unbelief presenting itself as humility. Point number two, why is unbelief so dangerous? Spurgeon says every sin begins with unbelief. This is because before we disobey God, we first stop trusting him. If you think back to the Garden of Eden and the conversation of Eve with the snake, realize that the serpent didn't begin with temptation, but asked the question instead, did God really say? A seed of doubt was planted in the garden, and sin bloomed from it. Point number three, how does unbelief affect Christians? Because unbelief doesn't affect only unbelievers, but Christians too. Because think about Peter. He walked on water until he stopped looking at Jesus and he started to doubt. Then he started to drown. The disciples, they couldn't cast out demons because they lacked faith. He says this kind only comes out with prayer and fasting. Faith is the hope in things yet unseen. Fear, someone once said, is negative faith. Belief that the worst outcome will happen. But if we can put that much energy into negativity, why can't we put it in the one who has already conquered death, Jesus Christ? Point number four, the story comes full circle. Now, if we go back to 2 Kings, that magistrate wasn't punished because he asked the question. He had already seen God work through Elijah again and again, yet he refused to trust God's promises. Now, the miracle happened exactly as God said it would. The enemy camp was left empty, and then they had a whole bunch of food outside. And that magistrate, he saw it, but he didn't get to experience it because he was killed in a stampede. He saw the deliverance of God from the gates, but he ended up dying before he could partake in it. And Spurgeon leaves us with this heavy thought. Sometimes unbelief doesn't keep us from seeing God's blessings, but it prevents us from receiving it. So, what promise of God are you struggling to believe today? This is Macali, and this is Spurgeon Explained. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next sermon.